hard.
No.
Oh
I'm
my
talking
God.
about Smirnoff vodka.
You drank a whole bottle of straight up vodka?
Close to, yeah. In high school, you don't know. You just kind of like go for it.
That was so stupid of you.
ROTN, let me present to you the Rotten Podcast. The Rotten Podcast.
How do you want me to say it? Rotten.
All right, guys. Good morning. Welcome back to the Rotten Podcast. We're on episode 25. I could be totally wrong, but this week has been an eventful week for us. Both Matt and I were sick last week.
Well, yeah, you were sick the week before.
I was sick.
I got sick from you.
I know.
Little sick ass.
I was telling you, you don't want to kiss this virus, Mal. So, and you still wanted to kiss it. So I don't know what you expected.
Not at first. I was like, back up. I was like, keep my distance.
I think mine came out in different ways because you never once felt nauseous during your sickness, correct?
I think I was not
totally there.
I definitely was a little out of it. I would say like more of a head cold and kind of like feeling a little dizzy. So yes, nauseous, but I'm pretty good with like motion sickness. So it doesn't, I don't know. I think I probably was nauseous, but maybe it just doesn't affect me as much. Like
I feel like you're not much of a throw upper. You're not a throwing up person.
I will do many things to avoid throwing up, which is it's definitely a fault because there's times where I wish that I could just throw up because that's you literally getting rid of something in your body that shouldn't be there.
And it's
or your
such
body
a natural
responding.
response. It almost feels like sneezing. Your body just like starts convulsing.
It's like, nope, gotta go. And instead I'm like, nope.
It's like trying to hold in your fart.
And then you're like, oh.
It just
and then where's it going to go?
Good.
You know, and then it doesn't feel good. But there's times where I have, really bad stomachache or whatever. And I'm just like, man, I wish I could just throw this up. But for me, I don't know why I've always had that like strong resistance to throwing up where I've only thrown up less than probably a handful of times in my life.
Really?
Which is kind of up to think about.
Do you ever think you've gotten so f***ed up from like alcohol that you should have thrown up, but you just didn't?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
See, to me, the second you throw up, you just feel like 20 times better.
I know. That's exactly why I wish that I could throw up more. Maybe as a kid, I threw up, but don't remember. But I remember in high school, I only threw up one time from booze. And we were at a friend's house, all in basements. We would go from one basement to the next. But it was winter. I think I was a sophomore in high school. And we had like a bunch of strawberry or raspberry Smirnoff in water bottles.
Ugh.
Like water bottles, and they were warm, because you're carrying them around and like your
so
groin and
more
shit.
Delicious, yum.
And
groin.
Then we were in someone's basement. We were literally
water.
in their like shower of their basement, like because they had like a nice granite like shower.
Yeah.
And we were like sitting
all together in the shower. Just
it was
drinking?
like a giant like shower. Like bathroom area. So we were like, all right, let's go in we'll go in the bathroom and so we were chugging it before we walked to this party. And by the time that we got to the party, which was only down the block, but when you're in high school and you're walking around, it seems like a long trek, especially when it's the winter and you're like illegally drinking and, partying was such a big deal in my suburb. Like the police would stake the parties out because they had nothing better to do. I drank an entire water bottle of Smirnoff.
Well, how much is in one Smirnoff? Like 12 ounces probably? So you had like 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 Smirnoffs pretty much?
What do you mean in one Smirnoff?
Hard, like a Smirnoff ice or hard?
No.
Oh
I'm
my
talking
God.
about Smirnoff vodka.
You drank a whole bottle of straight up vodka?
Close to, yeah. In high school, you don't know. You just kind of like go for it.
That was so stupid of you.
I mean, we were kind of like, we would do that. We would push ourselves, drink a lot. But that's how you find the line.
I guess true.
There's only one way to find the line.
It's
to
the
push it.
Irishman in you.
Yeah.
I could not handle my alcohol like that.
Yeah. I don't drink as much anymore, so I can't drink as much. But like, if I am continually drinking a little bit, I can drink a lot. Like even my brother, he's like,
both of you guys are fish.
We can drink a lot. But anyways, yeah, so.
Do you think your high school self can outdrink you today?
No.
Really?
Yeah, definitely not.
I think my high school self could outdrink me today.
Probably. You can't drink shit. So anything more than like
that's a lie.
Half of
That's
a lie.
We're at the same pace.
You in high school, Tiff?
And yeah, me now and high school me.
Sad.
It is pretty sad. I mean,
You're a cheap date, so I don't mind it.
Yeah,
but I
you
do
should
wish
not
you would
mind
like
it.
be a little
know
bit more
what?
chill with your drinking and open up and be a little bit more chill about like substances like smoking weed and
How
those
are we
kind
not
of
chill
things.
about smoking
If
weed?
you smell weed, you remind me of like my mom.
No,
like a
I
parent.
don't
You're like,
mind
it
if
smells
you're-
like weed.
I
And
don't
I'm like,
mind if
chill.
people are. No, I like the smell of weed. I just don't like the smell of stale weed in people's homes. Like I walked into people's homes where it just smells like weed and it does not smell
Yeah,
good
that's
at all.
bad.
And so I just don't like I don't want our house to smell like that. Just like I don't want our house to smell like dog pee or
Yeah.
cat shit. Like, right? Like it's just like
Yeah.
I mean, for me, like I have a poor sense of smell, so I'm always self-conscious that like things smell worse than I know because
Mm-hmm.
my sense of smell is down the shitter.
Well, let me tell you something. With smoking weed in a house, I could smoke a bowl in my studio, and within an hour, it
say.
would not smell.
But that's because you get used to that.
No,
sound.
I'm
you
serious.
Can barely smell.
Trust
sharks.
me. What do you think that we
Shit.
did in high school? It was like we got really good at figuring out where the line was with smoking in rooms, smoking in basements.
I still just don't want it to happen inside.
No,
the
no,
house.
I know. I'm just saying, like, if I smell like weed, you'll be like, you smell like weed. It's like you remind me of my mother when you say those things.
I'm
and
sorry.
I'm like, chill. Like, go with it.
You know what? That is one thing I'm just not chill about.
Yes.
Is like the house smelling bad. I don't want it to smell bad. And
I
that's
get
because
that.
like I've walked into people's homes where it smells bad and it's all I can think about is
Yeah.
I'm
Like, what do people think
I don't
about?
mean to low key judge them, but I'm like judging
Yeah.
them, right? So I just don't want people, and not that we even have people come into the house that often. I just don't want it to like
No, I get
accumulate
that.
over time.
Yeah. But I do a lot of things. Like I air things out. I'm always lighting candles because I like things to smell good as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always light candles, especially when people come over. I feel like maybe you learned that trick from me, but it's a great one to like,
Yeah,
you know.
but I almost do it. Well, I like that we do it because I'm like, okay, we need to hide the scent if there is a scent. Like I'm just so overly conscious about what our house smells like because
I like the vibe of candles though. I learned early on, one of my mom's
Yeah.
friends always was like really into the ambiance. So every time you'd go to their house, she would always make sure there's candles lit and dim lights. And I always learned that is a very good vibe
Yeah.
of hosting.
What she did not teach you though was you needed to trim your candles. The
You
wick.
would be proud of me. I
Did
think
you trim
I
your
think you saw
candle?
me do it.
We
I think
have
were
like
burning.
two like proper candle trimmers in the house.
That's hilarious. I just use scissors, but like
Yeah, that works.
I was like, you know what? This actually looks like it needs a trimming. And
Yeah.
I was like, Tiffany would be so proud if
If
she
it
saw
starts
this.
having a bulb on the top, you know it needs to be
Yeah.
trimmed. Yeah. It burns hotter and it's worse for the candle.
Side note, but that's one thing that I need to do for the house is install dimmers on all of the lighting because
Yeah, you
I
did
did
such a
it
good
for
job.
one. And that was a kind of experiment. Like, am I capable of doing this? And I did it. I should have bought more, but I didn't want to like buy more than I was capable of.
Did I help you with that?
No,
I didn't help you at all.
I don't think so.
Actually, I did help you. I remember twisting the little like lights around because you couldn't figure it out.
Oh, maybe.
But now you got it, so
Yeah.
I don't need the help
I
again.
thought that I did that.
No, I actually helped.
Well, I was proud of it.
You should be proud
I
of
think
it.
you helped
still-
like one part, but I like figured out everything. I was
I
like,
think
hey, can
'cause-
you help me like twirl this in? I'm
Yeah,
not
I
as,
think I
like-
helped you twirl because like
Yeah.
you couldn't get the two wires.
Yeah.
No.
Either way, what I'm saying is that like having dimmers on your lights makes all of the difference because,
Yes.
for example, even in our kitchen, it's like so bright and it's good for certain things, right? Like when you're filming in this, but like it's not really a good vibe if you're having people over. It's like so bright light
too bright,
that you just
yeah.
want to turn it down a little bit. Even that nice light we have over our living room, I think that will be the future light we always use once we have a dimmer on it.
Yeah.
Because the way that it
It's
kind of
also
like
so
sits,
yellow.
yeah, it's
I
very
think
yellow.
the colors in our house are too yellow.
Well, they're either too bright or too yellow. We got to get this shit
Yes.
together. We've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years.
How
at this
about if
point.
all the colors in our house is that bright white daylight
No.
color? Not daylight, a little more like just neutral, like very neutral. And it's very bright, but we all have dimmer so that when I am filming in the house, we can like
we
brighten
could test
up.
it out? I mean, the first step would be putting the dimmer. Swapping the light bulbs is the easiest.
Yes, just the dimmers. Yeah. I don't know how we got here, but speaking of drinking, we should talk about the Budweiser stuff happening, which
Oh,
I know
yeah.
we're a little bit late on. Do you
Well,
want to
it's still.
explain
I
it?
mean, it's so wild that they're still.
They're
I mean,
still
it's not
talking
like we're
about it.
super late. Like they're still writing articles about it. It's still very relevant news.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Budweiser did a campaign with
Dylan Mulvaney.
who is a transgender woman.
Yes.
And she's gotten really big by documenting her transition of womanhood, I believe. I don't know her too much, but that's kind of the stuff that I've seen. And Bud Light did a campaign with her, and there was such strong backlash that I couldn't believe. Number one, I couldn't believe both sides. Number one, I don't know why Bud Light is doing that. Like, what are you doing? You know,
I agree.
it doesn't fit.
I
It's
feel
just like so.
know your audience.
Yeah, like regardless of her being a transgender woman, swap her with someone who's it just wouldn't
So
fit
not
right.
on
Like I don't
brand.
picture Bud Light in you.
Let me start by saying I have multiple transgender people in my family. So I'm very supportive of transgender rights, transgender care.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with them transitioning. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about it, but let me just start there.
I think just with that, like, I think it's such a touchy feely. It's so hard to like articulate my thoughts. Like overall, I believe people should do whatever the hell they want to do.
As long as it's not hurting anyone
Like,
else.
I don't care. Like, go live how, like, life is already so hard. Like, people shouldn't judge or bash other people for the way that they want to live their life, no matter what it is, unless it's harmful. But I think where it gets tricky is like doing the procedures when maybe these people aren't fully developed. That's where I think people have a lot of issues with it. I could see why people think that it is irresponsible for a doctor to do a procedure on someone that's not in an irreversible procedure.
There's a lot of procedures that get done
Yeah.
when you're under 18 that are irreversible, like a cleft palate, like the pinning of the ears. Like a lot of kids do these things
But-
to not get made fun of. I mean, we're going on a
yeah,
tangent
yeah.
now where I'd like to go back to the Budweiser
yeah.
stuff, but to me, like their procedure is not hurting me. So I'm in the boat of as long as their parents are okay with it, like they can do it.
People think like parents should not allow someone under the age of 18 to do it. And you know, we're not even allowed to like rent a car until we're 25 because we're not fully developed from our standpoint of our brains.
But with the argument of being transgender, you can't wait till you're 25 to transition.
Yeah.
Like people will
Right.
clearly know you're transgender.
Absolutely.
I think what it is they're trying to hide it when they're as young as possible.
Yeah.
So when they get to college, they can be the gender
That's
they'd
where I
like
think
to
it's
be.
so difficult is because you are maybe too young, but also there's that passing window. And so there is this like added pressure. And then you have all these things going on in society that are kind of like maybe pushing you more in that direction.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a tricky thing. Like overall, my thoughts are like people should live how they want to live.
I mean, I have someone in my family, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that, where their parents don't know that they're transitioning and they still live with their parents, and they actually started transitioning before they were 18.
Right.
But it could be the same argument with like when I was 16, I could get birth control without my parents knowing, right? Because imagine telling my parents that that's such an uncomfortable position. They could do a lot of things to prevent me from, exploring my sexuality, which I knew at 16 I wanted to start exploring, right?
Right.
So it's like, okay, like why can you have sex at 16 but you can't like also get these pills? Like I'm changing my hormones at 16.
I think where people maybe feel like their difference is like, and I don't know the science or the data behind it, but I'm assuming that if you're putting something in your body that alter your hormones, like birth control, for example, you can get your body back to a stable place and regulate your hormones. It might take time. It might be difficult to figure out, but maybe some of these other things are more irreversible and have more damage on your body.
Surgeries are
Yeah. Totally.
But I think
But
just
like if a woman
taking
starts taking testosterone, like you can't undo the voice change. You can't undo certain things that come with that. And that's where I think it is different.
Well, there's a beauty influencer. Her name is Gigi Gorgeous. She's a transgender woman, and she just started getting off of it to produce sperm again. And she's starting to produce sperm. So with some parts of it is reversible.
Okay. Right. I think with that, it's kind of like, and I don't want to compare it to guns, but my view is that there just should be more thorough regulation with this. Like if someone
therapy?
is getting a surgery, like maybe doctors need to go through a more psychological evaluation for these people. And I don't know what the process is like. Each case is probably different. Like I don't think it's as black and white of like, if you want to do it, you should do it. Right. Like teens are always confused. They're exploring their sexuality. Things change over time.
But don't you think that when you were 16, you knew your sexuality?
Yeah, but I think that there's people that maybe struggle with their sexuality and aren't sure and are confused. That's what I'm saying, is that like going through that adolescent period, you are throwing so many things at the wall. You are kind of like out, really like testing yourself. You are kind of going through a rebellious period, right? Like that's when your like hormones and testosterone really starts to like drive up as you go through puberty. So it's a confusing time as a human being in general. Take away gender or not, it's just a confusing time.
Yeah.
But
but they only have a short window to start hormone therapy, which I'm okay with having if you're under 18. But
yeah. And again, I don't know what the procedure is like. I'm just assuming that there should probably be more of a psychological evaluation with doing these procedures. If a doctor is going to operate on the age of someone who's under 18 and is doing a surgery that's irreversible, maybe there should be further steps taken.
I don't think that's even that common. Like, I think this conversation we're even having is so not a common situation where, like, I don't imagine anyone getting bottom surgery under 18. I'm sure it happens, but, like, I think the main conversation is about the hormone therapy. But either way, let's get back to the Budweiser stuff. Because I think that's where I really wanted to go with this, was not talking about transgender care, which is such a hard subject to even talk about when we don't.
Well, I think we're talking about it because
now we're talking about it again.
No, we're talking about it because there was such a strong backlash from Bud Light doing this campaign. And so we're discussing, like, why was there such a strong backlash? How do people feel? Clearly there's a lot of like...
I think that initially a lot of people were like, wow, Budweiser, you're so stupid for doing this. I'm looking at the numbers. I actually think it was really smart of them to do it. I don't agree with what they did because I think it alienated their fan base, which is something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I don't think it's wrong that they put a transgender woman, like people should be supported, right? But like also know your audience. Where like if she was a transgender male, maybe that would make more sense, right? Like why a transgender female? Why not a transgender male who
I see.
Who like likes beer, right?
Who wants to like embody what the brand is.
Yeah, that
but,
makes sense.
She doesn't seem like someone who embodies the brand. I mean, I've seen some of her content pop up and, you know, it's very like cutesy, beauty, fashion, which is so far from beer in general.
I mean, one of her campaigns, she was taking a bath, which a lot of males find to be the most girliest thing you could do. She was taking a bath.
I love taking baths.
I'm glad you could admit it. I love a good bath, but I've never seen baths as being like girly or feminine or whatever, but I've seen that that's kind of what people think of. She was taking a bubble bath while drinking beer, and the beer looked warm. So people were like, oh, it looks like bath water. She's just like sipping on bath water. So it was like disgusting. A bad like combination of things that happened.
But you were saying that it was good for them. Is their stock up? Because their sales are down.
Their sales are down.
Like pretty dramatically.
But they're actually up 10% in the last 3 months.
What their stock?
Their stock is up 10%. They lost $5 billion in their market cap. They've regained it all. And actually, I just read an article where they actually saw an increase in revenue this quarter. It could have been from January 1st to March 31st.
So then it's unrelated
to the
campaign. So it's
unrelated. So we won't see this probably until July, what the actual sales look like, but their stock is still up. So people think about...
But do you think that their stock will be down once the quarterly numbers come out and they see that they've been down more than probably they've ever been in the past, I don't know how long? Because that's going to happen because their sales have been down and other beer companies have capitalized on that market share and their sales are up.
But... okay, so originally when I saw this story, and even yesterday when I was thinking about talking about this story in today's podcast, I was like, this is really dumb of them to do it. But if you think about other controversies other influencers have had with working with companies like Pepsi and Kendall Jenner, people said they were going to boycott Pepsi. Do you think those people that said that are still boycotting it? Because Pepsi is not struggling at all, but for a minute there they were. So I almost feel like this is the same conversation we're having with Budweiser.
I think it's different because with beer, there seems to be a way more clear demographic, whereas Pepsi can be it's more open-ended as far as who drinks Pepsi. And I think that Pepsi's
Also,
really
if you go to
good.
like Chick-fil-A and they only have Pepsi, you're gonna still drink
Yes.
Pepsi.
And if you go to the store and you're someone who prides themselves in like beer, you have a lot of options.
Why was Bud Light number one then? If it wasn't for the taste,
Maybe it is.
I
do
mean,
like Bud Light.
I don't drink
do
any
like
beer.
Bud Light. I would still drink Bud Light. Like it's good. There's like that cheaper category of beers like Bud Light, Miller Lite, Coors Light. And so to me, they all feel the same. Like if
Yeah.
I'm drinking that kind of beer, like that class, it doesn't really matter which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
I will say Bud Light bottles are definitely
Better?
specifically the bottles, like something about them, they definitely hit certain times.
I mean, I saw TikToks of guys being like, I've been drinking Bud Light for 35 years and now I'm no longer drinking it. And it's like, well, clearly you drank it for 35 years because you enjoyed the taste of it. So are you going to is it really that manly of you to stop drinking something just because a transgender female was in the ads? Like, I understand
no, it's
it
not
goes against
rational.
their morals,
it's
but
not
like,
rational, but I think something we have to all come to terms with in this country is who makes up this country. I think we learned a lot. A lot was exposed in the last election when Donald Trump was running, and he really ignited a core of people, a demographic of America that clearly exists.
true.
And we can't hide and pretend that they don't exist because they're there. And so
This is
it's
gonna
like
be-
on both ends of the spectrum. You could say that about the other side too. It's like, are there really people that are going to do X, Y, and Z and take this really strong political stance and da da da? It's like,
don't eat at Chick-fil-A because
yeah, and they're going to stand outside and picket it because, you know, it's like
yes.
there's people
Yeah.
on both ends of the spectrum that
True.
are very extreme. And there's a lot of them.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it looks like Bud Light financially for their stock is fine, but we won't find out till their revenues come out for
Well,
Q2.
currently, right. And so
Yeah.
that's what I think we should talk about when the time comes, because
When the time comes, yes.
it's too early to say if this was a good move or it wasn't. It sounds like it's a bad move because it's not making people talk about the product in a way where more people are buying it, right? Because a lot of times when there is negative controversy and people say the classics, the line of like, all press is
yeah.
good press, whatever. In this case, it's actually not, because we're seeing the numbers. The numbers are actually down. People are
Do
not
you have the
drinking.
numbers of how much they're down for?
I have one article
I've
that
seen. You know what I'm basing it on is I've seen a bunch of people who live in like the Midwest, the South, where they're showing their Walmarts and they're showing footage of them driving or walking down the aisle of their local Walmart, and you'll see Bud Light cases full, overfilled almost, and then next to Bud Light is Coors Light, and there'll be like 1 or 2 cases left in the refrigerated
Yeah.
section, and so you can see the economic impact of what they're having.
well, right, that's what I'm saying. And
in
so
this, yeah.
yeah, so the numbers actually, the brand's controversial marketing collaboration, which ignited fierce reaction on social media, has apparently led to a dip in Bud Light store sales by an astonishing 26% in the week ending April 22nd. Like that is a ton. And then
26% is a huge market
and then
share.
Coors Light, the second most popular beer brand in America, number one's Bud Light, their sales increased 17.6% in the week ending April 15th. Miller Lite saw a boost in sales, also 17.6%. And so Michelob Ultra sales are even up. Like that is hilarious.
Wait, why is that the shitty?
When I
beer?
personally think of Michelob Ultra, their like whole marketing initiative early on was always like Michelob Ultra Light. It was always like the
Barely beer.
It's still beer. It still has like a percentage
Piss
of
water?
Yeah, but it's more of like, it's kind of like the bitch beer. It's always felt like the bitch beer. Like you don't see someone drinking Michelob Ultra. Like I don't know. That's been my association with it. But their sales were up. Market share of the super premium segment rose 2.2% that same week, referring to...
You know what it is? I think this could have been a smart strategic move for them if they didn't backtrack, which is what they did. Like if they were like trying to get woke culture to support them and to get like more liberals and to get like people that have... If they're trying to get the LGBTQ plus community to be behind Bud Light, I see that, okay, like that was smart, but they backtracked, which is the shittiest part. They ended up suspending their VP of marketing because of this campaign, which is, okay, well, like initially you maybe got the LGBTQ plus community to be like, hell yeah, they're supporting us. But then you fire the marketing team that did it. They're like, all right, now
Yeah.
we don't like you. No,
Rather
everyone
than
doesn't like
they
them.
should have taken the stance that's more receptive to their core, which would be like standing for what they believe in regardless of the backlash.
I mean, like they could have done what I had suggested. Maybe that's not even a smart move still, which is like getting a really like good like a male transgender person that embodies beer and horseback riding and I don't know, NASCAR, like, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are plenty of transgender males that embody that persona of Bud Light.
And they probably do it, so they probably embody that like,
and people wouldn't have even known that they
Yeah.
were transgender. Like,
well, the whole campaign I think was supposed to be.
no, it was about March Madness.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The entire campaign was
so
for
random.
March Madness.
The thing is, like, Bud Light and Budweiser literally could have gone with their seltzer part of their business and avoided this whole thing. Think about it. That fits way more
yeah.
on brand
For her.
for her than for the actual beer itself.
Not that I want to say that girls don't enjoy beer, but I would say the majority of girls probably don't enjoy beer.
It's not as, I mean,
Right?
let's just call it what it is. Like, you
I
don't
mean,
see
I'm
that
talking
many
about it in,
women
like,
drink beer.
Not to say people don't drink beer.
Well, we don't have to
'cause-
be so politically
well,
correct.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking
it's
about
just
Tammy,
when you
she
think of
actually enjoys beer.
Okay, right. And like not a lot of women do.
Yeah.
At least that I know.
But
And
a lot of females enjoy seltzer.
I love when girls drink beer. It's like it's hot. It's like, yeah, one of the boys, like kind of like, pour up. Let's go.
Sorry, that's not me.
No, it's okay for sure.
I'll
It's-
drink my espresso martini
Yeah.
with light vodka.
Exactly. But the Bud
I-
Light seltzer thing comes to mind because when I
Yeah.
even think of like Remy, she was done a lot of work with like Bud Light or the Bud Light seltzer like early on.
I think so.
So that was like the
yeah.
first thing that kind of came to mind was like they were more targeting influencers in the beauty space.
True.
Again, I think it's too extreme on both ends. I think it was stupid for them. Like it just didn't work. But then the strong backlash
I think, yeah.
doesn't make sense.
You know, what a lot of the conversation is about is like, why be bothered with something that doesn't bother you?
I think people feel like, and I don't feel this way, but
Okay.
like on that side, I think people are overly protective and overly dramatic with like people trying to tell them what to do. Like they kind of mock the he, she pronoun situation because they think,
Oh, like I should feel bad for getting your pronoun incorrect.
yeah,
You're right when you're saying that they're probably upset that they feel like people are telling them what to do, but at the same time, those types of people
like
that
if you
are okay
tell,
with it, hey,
sorry, yeah.
those types of people that aren't okay with it are also hypocrites because they're telling women what to do with their bodies.
Absolutely.
So like
I
there's a
completely agree
little
with
bit
that.
of hypocrisy on both sides of the spectrum.
Absolutely. If someone's going to get upset, like if you look like a man,
Mm-hmm.
but you identify as a woman and someone calls you he, and then that person who identifies as a woman gets upset and says, you need to call me she, her.
Or you need to ask me first.
Yeah. And
That's a little-
that's where people are, it's like, what are you talking about? We've been conditioned our whole life.
I think what ends up being wrong is if that guy said, no, I identify as a female, please call me she. And then that person kept being like he.
Right.
That's the
wrong.
issue. That's so wrong.
That's wrong.
I think people need to just like get mad lefts. Just like
Yeah.
maybe smoke some weed.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, why does it matter
Why
what
are
someone
we
else
getting
is
mad
doing?
about this stuff? Yeah, this really reminded me of like the Kendall Jenner Pepsi police boycott thing that people
And I
were
don't think
talking
it
about.
is though.
What that's what I'm saying is I wonder if people are going to have a short-term memory for this because I wonder if like 2 years from now, will people still boycott Bud Light? Like maybe
I'm sure
their market
people
share
will.
will be low, but
If people are already being so like burning Bud Light,
Mm-hmm.
like trashing it, and they're that passionate, maybe they're never going to back down from it.
yeah. Well, I wanted to read some comments that I saw because some of these comments were a little eye-opening. Okay, someone said in this TikTok that I was watching, it's not just a boycott now. You'll get legit heckled at the bar ordering a Bud Light. Boomers are even in on it, and the jokes never die with them.
That's true. I could see that. I could 100%
Like that,
see that.
That's crazy to me that you'll get heckled for even being like, hey, can I get a Budweiser or a Bud Light?
I mean, that's a very real thing. I could 100% see that. I mean, that's kind of how men work, is that they're very like, you know,
they like to poke fun.
They like to poke fun. They like to hold on to things. They like to kind of like, you know, gang up and like joke around and like stick with the narrative. But really it's super passive aggressive, like sarcasm and stuff. Like I grew up in the Midwest. Like sarcasm is very common. My dad's very sarcastic. And we've actually had conversations more recently where I'm like, you have to understand that not everyone's going to understand sarcasm. And also within sarcasm, there is a little bit of passiveness because you're saying something you kind of feel, but you're masking it as a joke. So
I agree. And I mean, there's always truth behind every joke.
Either way, I could see how that could be a really big problem. Like you're at a bar and like the most people don't want to be looked down at as like a or something. It's crazy that you can order a beer and be a pussy for doing that, right? But that's the world we live in.
That's true. I mean, sorry, I'm like reading these. Okay, so someone said, I work at a bar. We legit haven't sold any Bud Light or Busch, which used to be a staple. These are real world examples of what's happening.
I'm sure it really is very specific geographically. It probably makes a huge difference. Like somewhere in Wisconsin, doesn't stand a chance.
Okay, but now I have another question.
Yeah.
Dylan Mulvaney also worked with Nike. Do you think Nike should get backlash? Because there's a lot
look at what is Nike's mission. Nike has always stood about being great and diversity.
Yeah, that's true.
They've always sponsored stories that were people, you know, accomplishing great feats.
Those same people that are against Dylan Mulvaney being a Bud Light ambassador, who also enjoy Nike, do you think they're burning their Nikes?
But they're two different brands doing two separate things. So I don't think these people have a problem with her. They have a problem that Bud Light did it, because what Bud Light means to them when they drink a Bud Light embodies like, I'm a man in America. I get to make my own choices. You can't tell me what to do. Like that's a little bit about how it feels. But putting on running shoes, it doesn't matter who did it. Remember Chris Rock's special? He was like Lululemon. I walked by and they were like, what was the whole bit? It was just like some funny thing about like,
and he was like, I don't care.
He's like, I don't care what your message is. I just want yoga pants.
Yeah.
So I guess it just depends.
But isn't it the same? Like, couldn't you see the same thing about like Bud Light? Like, I don't care who's drinking Bud Light. I just want my I don't know why I'm doing this accent. I just want my Bud Light. Sorry, I don't mean to be offensive when I just did that, but like,
you're so politically correct. It's too funny.
Well, I don't like to hurt people's feelings. Like, that's just me being a people pleaser.
I don't think anyone's feelings should be hurt by making an accent.
I would be offended if someone said ching chong ling long ting tong. Like, so like if I'm doing an American accent, my idea of an American accent might be offensive to some people who actually sound like that. So I'm not trying to offend anyone. Well, do you like to be offended?
No, I don't like to be offended. And, you know, I've been privileged to be white and haven't luckily been the butt of jokes until recently.
Oh, please.
I can't say that. White people are definitely the butt of a lot of jokes these days, especially a white male.
Okay.
We got no problems.
I guess I didn't know where you're going with that at first, but yeah, you guys have.
Rightfully so. So I probably don't have the right perspective on it, but I don't think people, back to what you're saying, should be so sensitive in general. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Sticks and stones. Like, that's what we kind of learned as a kid.
There's this like level of hypocrisy that I don't enjoy, right? Both on the left and the right side. So I'm just saying, like, the right people who are boycotting Bud Light, are they going to boycott? I guess you're right.
Well, nothing is really
Nike.
ever that logical.
Yeah.
Number one, you're giving them too much credit.
Yes.
And then number two, I do think that it really depends what Bud Light's message is and if that contradicted their own message, where again, what I'm saying with Nike is that it would be very on brand for Nike to do that because they have been doing that.
I think this shows how much better Nike is in their category than Bud Light. Because if Bud Light was the shit, like the taste was so good you couldn't boycott it, people wouldn't have boycotted it.
People give up things all the time when they're passionate about it. In the same case of Pepsi got backlash.
Chick-fil-A, though, a lot of LGBTQ people still eat at Chick-fil-A, which is a little hypocritical because the owners of Chick-fil-A support Christian Catholic values, right?
I mean, it just goes back to how I think about
But
America.
Chick-fil-A is so
like
good.
Everybody is full of shit. Like, I really think that everybody walks around like they have the answers and they stand on such moral high ground. But if you really were to break down someone that has such a passionate stance, I guarantee that there's hypocrisy in their journey somewhere very strongly.
Like vegans.
Yeah, right? You could say the same thing. Like, do you care about being healthy? Do you care about the environment? Which is it?
Or the animal.
Right. So regardless, we could go down an endless hole here
Yeah.
of trying to like figure these things out. But I do think that Nike could be canceled at a certain point if they went and that's where I think that this is a very interesting situation that I think a lot of brands are learning from, which is like, here's the line now, right? Because over the past 10 years, brands have been trying to be more politically correct, almost like in such a
Colin
cringy
Kaepernick.
way, where they want to like go overstep to show that they support something that doesn't even make sense with whatever the brand is. Like in the case of what Chris Rock was talking about with the Lululemon, like these joggers weren't made with any racism or something. Like, what is
that's what it was.
It was something like that. And it's just like, you don't have to like, it's just, I get why people are doing it because they're fearful that there's going to be a mob of people that are attacking them for not supporting a marginalized group. But also, here is the line that we're now seeing. I think that this is the line that we see. For so long, brands have been doing it and everyone allows it. No one cares. They're like, yeah, it's great. You're supporting different causes, da-da-da. Now it does show a brand like Nike that, hey, we could face backlash if we go really far from what our core ethos is.
Yes.
Luckily, Nike's ethos is like diversity, just do it. You know, we want to give people the best clothing so that they can support their dreams and be the best version of themselves. If they did something that was opposite of that, I don't know what that would be, right? Then I'm sure they would get backlash.
But also, I think it helps that like Nike is differentiated enough in their space. Bud Light is not differentiated enough. Yes, they may have had the number one beer, but the taste wasn't that much different than
I mean,
Coors Light.
I think people drinking Bud Light probably would find it like, it's like, you know, you're drinking boba. I'm sure you can tell the difference between the tapioca balls.
Most people aren't beer connoisseurs, right? They couldn't tell you left from right. Like if I'm buying, I'll tell you right now, if I'm going to Ralph's and I'm buying like beer for the party, I'm just picking the cheapest one that I know the name of. Like, is it Coors?
But you don't even drink beer, so it doesn't. So you're not the right person to talk about this.
But I'm saying, do you think
yes.
the majority of people that are buying beer are really that like married to Bud Light? They probably buy Bud Light because it's like the most popular one, but they can easily swap it out with Coors Light. But I'm saying with Nike, it's like you like your Nike.
I think there's a little bit of, I think there's a balance.
Again,
probably.
Chick-fil-A, what's the better alternative? What's another alternative to Chick-fil-A? They kept supporting it even though it didn't align with their values because Chick-fil-A is freaking good and they're differentiated enough in the fast food space where you know you're going to get good quality chicken versus you can't get that at like Burger King. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that like I think if Bud Light had differentiated,
I just think you're wrong.
That's fine.
If there are people who are avid Bud Light, Budweiser drinkers, right? Like you just shared an example of someone who was drinking it for 20 years and now they won't ever drink it again. That Budweiser, that Bud Light there is a big difference between Bud Light and Coors Light to them. I'm sure even more so how it makes them feel like holding that can of Bud Light. We like our choices. They mean something to us. These brands spend billions of dollars marketing a message, making us feel a type of way. We see it in culture in a certain way. So a Bud Light to someone means something, whether it's the taste or not. And it is probably the taste. I mean, they are the best of that category, in my opinion. That's why they're the number one, right? But that's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying is, yes, maybe they are differentiated to a Bud Light fan, but I'm saying just like boba, like I'm a diehard Boba Guys fan, but like I can still drink boba anywhere else and still enjoy it.
Now
I'm
imagine being the passive drinker and you're going to pick up a case.
Exactly. I wouldn't care if it's Boba Guys or something else. I wouldn't care if it's Bud Light or Coors Light, right?
But now I'm saying it matters because like if you're a guy and you're going to pick up a case for a party.
My point is that if Bud Light was differentiated enough, people would still support and drink Bud Light. If it was so freaking delicious.
But people do still drink it. They sell a shitload of cans in beer.
Again, there must be some miscommunication because I don't think you're understanding what I'm trying to say. I'm saying their sales wouldn't have gone down as much and this wouldn't be such a big deal if their cans of beer was so different in the space than the next can of beer down the aisle.
I think that's
This
an
is
interesting point
this is
because
like Nike shoes. Like if you like Nike's running shoes, what are the other options? Adidas. There's only maybe 2 or 3 other options.
I get it, but okay, I get that. But I'm saying maybe that's the reason people are so passionate, because it is so different to them that they care so much that you've taken this thing that I love so much and you've changed it to me. That's where you have strong reactions, right? Like hate comes from love. So if these people were just like indifferent, like, oh yeah, they're like Bud Light is just kind of like Miller Lite, like would people really care that much? That's what I don't know. And I do think it's probably a little bit of like people just want to get mad at something. People's view, if they can enforce their views in a way, they will. Clearly this is a view. But also people must really love Bud Light because they care enough about it to boycott it and throw it and da-da-da. But
well, I mean, people were going to boycott Pepsi, but let's be honest, Coca-Cola is so much better than Pepsi.
But let's be honest, so many people still drink Pepsi and love Pepsi. Just because Coca-Cola is maybe more popular.
I think people just wanted to get mad, but I'm saying that people wouldn't be as mad. The sales wouldn't be as down if people could really not buy anything else. I'm saying the issue is that Bud Light did this in a space where there's a million other beer companies you can support. Chick-fil-A, there's not a million other fast food chicken spots that you can support. There are a million other running shoe companies you can support, right? They're differentiated in this space in the sense of these two, Chick-fil-A, who's in controversy, that are still supported by the LGBTQ community when really they shouldn't be. And then Nike, they've been in a lot of controversy when it comes to Colin Kaepernick, right? And the kneeling down situation, but like people have forgotten and still support Nike when before they were like trying to boycott them.
Well, you can't make everyone happy.
Yeah, but I'm saying is that like they were 2 unique players in a space, and Bud Light, although they were number 1, was not unique enough.
It's like Bud Light, Miller Lite is kind of like McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's. That's the way to think about it.
But if people
so
are
Bud Light is
McDonald's, they could go to Burger King.
Ultimately, I was just saying, like, I think you bring up a really good point that, like, if Bud Light was more differentiated in the market, their sales wouldn't have gone down as much. And I'm saying that's interesting. Maybe that's true, but also maybe it's true that they are the clear favorite to so many people, that they have been for so long, that this bothers them so much that they're now having to choose another brand. And we'll see what the lifespan, we'll see over the next couple months what happens with their sales. If it regulates back to what the numbers were before, then it kind of proves the point that they were differentiated enough, because, right, if it's not a big deal, then people will just never drink Bud Light again if they had a problem with this. But if they are so good that people are going to come back to it, that'll kind of be like the determining factor.
Well, do you think all press is good press? Like, do you think this is bad for them in the long run?
I don't think all press is good press, but I think that all press can be good press depending on what you do over a period of time. Because like certain things you can't come back from, certain things you can come back from, but they're going to take 10 years. Right? And you're like, your whole story has to change. In this case, I think they probably could have handled it way better, right? Not just firing and pointing the finger and kind of being like, I don't know. We'll see if good press is like right now, no, because their sales are down. But one thing I do want to like end on saying is, because you brought up like Nike being so good that even if they have backlash, they can't get like canceled or the sales won't drop dramatically. I think that this, like, overall, this is definitely a lesson for brands in where to sort of draw that line and understand who they're marketing to and what their core fan base is. Because, like, in the event of Nike, I think Nike, something similar could happen to Nike if they went opposite of what their mission might be. And I'm not even saying Bud Light's mission is like to only serve beer to like a certain demographic of people. So maybe that's like the wrong way of thinking about it. But like, imagine if Nike did a campaign that was like super like white.
Trump? Like if they hired Trump as an ambassador?
Yeah. Or if they did something that was like very like leaning into like white America, people would have a backlash and start wearing Adidas. Like, even though Nike is that good, that's what I'm saying. But even with the Colin Kaepernick thing, it's still on brand for them to do that. Yes, it ignited people who probably didn't even care that much about Nike, but wanted a reason. But their sales probably went up because people that support Nike and support their mission also maybe supported that.
I think there's a bigger conversation of Dylan Mulvaney. I as a ambassador of brands and I get hired to be a spokesperson for people or do campaigns with them, I'll actually be like, no, this isn't aligned with the things I do. Dylan Mulvaney, unless she's like actively drinking a lot of beer in her stuff, in her videos, like I don't even know why she said yes to this. Is she actually a beer drinker? Like,
Who
has she
knows?
talked about it? Like,
I don't
literally,
know.
it almost,
We don't know.
it's off brand for her as a person as well. So it almost feels like she said yes.
Aesthetically, at taking it at face value,
Yes.
it's off brand. Now, we don't know if she loves beer and maybe this is like something she's always wanted to do. I can't say that. I don't know. But definitely, if you take it at face value, it definitely is not a good
So
collaboration. And I think this is also something creators can learn from as well. If they look at it and be like, maybe I shouldn't take this just for the bag because it doesn't really like align with my audience.
Literally 1,000%. I think this is a bigger conversation of, okay, well, like Budweiser is getting blamed for this. And I don't think Dylan Mulvaney should get blamed for this, but I think that she had some sort of responsibility to be like, this does not align with myself.
Yeah.
This doesn't align with me. And it clearly shows that it doesn't align with her because the fan base of Bud Light is saying, you don't align with us.
Yeah, which that's so wild. People would have such a strong stance about a beer.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I don't know
wouldn't go
much
out-
about I don't know much about like what the actual campaign was, but it seems like the campaign was just like not the right campaign.
Yeah.
And no one should be like scrutinized for something as innocent as this.
Yeah.
I'm saying. And I mean, it goes back to even the more hypocritical part of this. Like, we are all supporting companies that practice very unethical business practices, even from any
phones.
battery and phone that is used is supporting a process where slave labor, inhumane working conditions.
Is it the copper or what was it? It was something with a C. No, it
Cobalt.
was cobalt. Yeah.
Cobalt, it's very hard to get clean cobalt in these lithium batteries. Anything that essentially has a chargeable battery, like majority of them, like very strong in the 80s, 90% of it is made with cobalt. The way that they get it is like they mine it through this very unethical process where they have like slave labor, very dangerous conditions. People are dying in tunnels because they don't have the proper like safety procedures. They're working too many hours. They're getting underpaid. And we are all supporting this unknowingly and now knowingly. A lot of people know these things, but
They're still supporting it.
Yeah, so
knowing it.
It's almost like we have all these weekend social warriors where it's just like when it's convenient on the weekend, I'm gonna, stand up for something.
That's what it means. Weekend social.
I don't know. I just kind of came up with that term. I don't know if that term exists, but I was thinking about like a social
warriors,
and then like a weekend social warrior, like a part-time.
Honestly, that to me sounded so natural. I thought that was a saying.
Maybe it is. Maybe I heard that subconsciously, but in my head, I was thinking about like, oh, that would be a good way to say it.
Yeah.
So everyone's hypocritical if they really want to like go there.
All right, guys. Well, I think this was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Lots of passion, but I think, let us know down below like what your thoughts are. But we're going to end today's.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
It's like, I think the inception of the idea is more important than the actual information itself. Like, if people didn't have a strong reaction, then more people wouldn't have a strong reaction about this Bud Light campaign. So I think that it's really not about what it is, it's about perception. And that's like
Everything
the society.
is
Yeah,
about
that's
perception.
the society that we live in.
Unfortunately, yes.
So it's not even about the facts, but people stand on the facts in those moments where they want to like campaign around something, but it's like, you don't really care about the facts. You're just using them because it's convenient.
Deep.
Anyways.
That's deep. Anyways, we are ending today's episode with a lighthearted Am I Rotten? If you guys have not submitted your rotten stories or confessions, leave it down below in the Google Doc. All right, guys. Am I rotten for dreaming about my ex from high school? It's been 7 years since we broke up, and I have the most vivid dreams of him finally choosing me. And when I wake up, I actually feel very sad and wonder what we could have been. The rotten part of this is that I am married with a husband and I have a 1.5-year-old child and another one on the way. My relationship is great. He's my best friend and treats me right. But I messaged my ex on Instagram telling him I dream of him and how I miss him and our friendship. I think it's just the pregnant hormones that give me these vivid dreams and are making me sad. So, am I rotten for dreaming about my ex?
Rotten for dreaming of the ex? No. Reaching out to the ex?
Yes. I was going
But
to say.
the hormonal pregnancy thing, like I could see maybe, because I've had dreams with my ex in it. And I wake up and be like, damn, it really is like, okay, number one, with dreams, you
It's
can't
okay.
control them.
You can't control them.
Number two, if you've had a relationship with a friend, if you've had an intimate relationship with another human being and you've gone so deep with them, you've shared so many intimate moments, you've revealed yourself. The hardest part about love is like you love them. So yeah, like getting out of that love is really painful. Like the same thing that gives you joy, in order to like remove that from your life, is that's why heartbreak hurts so much, because that one beautiful thing, it hurts. So like you can't, we're not allowed to just remove things from our brains because we've moved on and have a different partner. That's not how brains work. That's not how life works. So it's normal to be dreaming about your significant others, to have dreams with people that you went to high school with randomly. Like these, you can't control that. So it only makes sense that you would have dreams with a significant other because you've shared so much time on this planet with that
Yes.
person, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Or at least thinking about them.
I mean, this is the same thing I think of when like people start hating their exes so hard. I'm like, didn't you love them at one point? Like, don't you still care about them? Don't you still want the best for them?
Yeah.
When people are like, I don't care if my ex dies and ends up in jail. I'm like, wait. Then did you really love and care about this person?
I don't think dreams are talked about enough.
The
don't
only times I
think-
talk about my dream is when I dream that you cheated on me.
Yeah, you cheated on me in my dream, and I'm like I'm in trouble or something.
That's not true.
I know, but I don't think we talk about dreams enough because of how insane dreams are. If you really think about it, like you close your eyes at night, and then all of a sudden, while you're sleeping, you're having vivid hallucinations that you perceive to be real in that moment. And when you're in a dream, most of the time, you have no idea that you're dreaming, and perception is reality, and you believe that what you're experiencing is real. That is insane. Every night we go to sleep and we have wild hallucinations, thinking we are somewhere that we aren't.
Yeah. So,
And then number two, sorry to follow up.
no, you're fine.
I know in ancient civilizations,
Okay, well,
they really
I think you're
use their
going
dream.
really deep. I think we should stick to the
Okay, fine.
topic,
I
which
want-
is she rotten for reaching out to the ex and saying, I miss you, I miss our friendship, I dream about you. I think it's only rotten if she didn't share that with her husband, because it seems like she's doing something underneath
Yeah.
the table.
I mean, I'll be 100% honest. There's times if I've had like a dream with like an ex or something, I'll wake up and be like, I miss them. I would love to like reach out to them. But then like, my day in reality starts to set in and I'm like, no, of course I don't want to do that.
Well, good to know.
But
you
like-
want to reach out to
No,
them.
but I'm just saying, in the moment when you wake up, like let's say you had a moment with your ex or an ex-boyfriend, and then you wake up and you kind of have those feelings and you're like sitting with them for a little bit and you're just like, that makes me like sad. I wonder how he's doing. Like I miss him,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've dreamed about my ex where like we cross the finish line and like have a life together. And I think the thing is, I only miss him when I wake up because that dream felt so real in that moment. But like when reality hits, I'm like, wait, I'm so happy like they're not in my life. But there's a difference if she feels still this urge.
If it's still like a feeling that didn't fleet, then yes. I mean, like, are you rotten because you have a feeling? I think she's not rotten because she has the feeling. I think she's
Well, if
rotten
not
for
sure
reaching out.
I think there's a little bit of rottenness if she's still not sure that she misses this life with him and wish he chose her.
I bet she would follow up with this and be like, honestly, I'm super happy. I love my family. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I just missed him because I saw him in my dream and it made me remember the good times we had. And
Yeah.
it made me sad that we're no longer like friends or can like talk to one another.
Is that how you feel about Anna?
Yeah, or like other people for sure. It's like, hey, I'm like so happy. I wouldn't trade my relationship for the world. Like I feel like have the best partner imaginable. Like I genuinely mean that. Like my exes and stuff, they probably got to look at my situation and be like, damn, he did really good. So no, I don't actually want to trade any form of the relationship. I've even I think I've written like lyrics about this where it's like the only time I see these people in my dreams, like that's kind of sad.
you know, I've gone through a lot this year, and I've gone through a friendship breakup, and I still dream about them, and I still miss them, and I still want nothing but the best for them, and I like still like creep on them, being like, I hope they're doing well. Like I really want them to be doing well in life. So yeah, like I totally understand it. I think the only maybe shitty thing is she's not talking to her husband. Like I don't expect you to tell me, but like if you start DMing
Right,
your ex
if I
being
went,
like, I miss you, I'd be like,
yeah, that would be very, very shady and fucked up.
So that's the only rotten part. So chalk it up to the hormones, but I think she should.
Yeah, chalk it up to the hormones, because like I'm sure that's confusing.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it's like to be like super hormonal, period, but then have even more hormonal because you have a kid and like, you know, you're having a baby and you feel like, wow, my life is this way. Like,
Yeah.
who knows? But like,
And I'm sure she knows her life is so much better without
yeah,
him.
it's not like necessarily a logical move.
Yeah.
It's definitely like an emotional move for sure.
But
maybe not.
If I was her husband, or if you did that to me, I'd feel really hurt. Like, let's be honest. Like, I'm not a jealous person, but like, I could still feel hurt that you like
It feels betrayal.
DM'd your ex.
Yeah, it feels like behind the back.
Yeah.
In compromising the current relationship for something in the past. And like that's what I was saying, why we don't talk about dreams enough, is like I've had dreams where I'm like have these crazy vivid hallucinations of the world ending and like these things happening, and then I wake up and that feeling will sit with me almost all day. Dreams can 100% affect you, like they really can.
I've had dreams where I become so insecure that day because Matt cheated on me in my dream, and I know like you don't make me feel that way.
Yeah, I've had the same kind of dreams as well.
And I'm like, I'm really honest with you. I'm like, Matt, I need more love today because like you fucking cheated on me and I'm not okay. And I've had dreams where like it made me wholeheartedly believe that our dreams transport us into a different reality because everything felt so real. So
rotten for reaching out though.
Yeah, rotten for
Let's be
reaching out,
honest.
not rotten for dreaming. All right, guys. Well, if you guys haven't already, give us those 5 stars, baby, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And make sure to subscribe, guys. Subscribe and comment down below because I liked responding to your guys' comments, and let us know if you have ever dreamed about an ex. And I'm sure you guys all have.
All right, guys. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. Bye, guys.